important one.
John Retica, starter for Hibbing, 75 and 76. Thanks for coming, John.
No problem.
It's nice to meet you.
Me.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, let's just start with growing up in Hibbing. I mean, I think from us folks from the cities that grew up down here in the suburbs kind of have a perception maybe of the Iron Range in northern Minnesota, but it's maybe a little bit different than what a lot of folks down here might think.
Back then it was different than it is now. There's not much going on there now, but growing up it was a town of 20,000 people. So I mean, our graduating class was almost 600 kids, so it was a big school, and we were pretty much a regular small town that you went to. We had like 5 grade schools. Everybody went to the different area grade school they lived in, and then went to either a junior high or the high school, and then finished up at the high school. Our high school had grades, actually at one time, kindergarten through 2 years of junior college. You could go to our high school. My sister went there as a kindergartner and went all the way through 2 years of junior college at the same place.
Junior college? What?
2 years, so like Normandale.
Okay.
So the top floor of the high school was Hibbing Community College, or Hibbing Junior College it was called. So
wow.
That was, a 2-year college, just like Normandale would be here for you guys. But then in about early 70s, they built their own footprint outside of the footprint of town. But it was, it's a big, rural town, mining industry mainly. That was 90% of the people had some connection to the mining industry, whether they were in the mines working or selling products to the mines. That kind of industry was prevalent. But it was, it was a great place to grow up. We, did what kids do in a little town, and with a downtown and a basketball court. We had a court we went and played to, and it was fun. It was fun growing up.
So it was back in those days, growing up as a kid in Hibbing, there was 20,000 people lived in that area, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like I said, it was a full-scale big town. Big for us. It was, it didn't have skyscrapers or anything, but it was a big, a big little town. And then around us on the range, smaller towns: Chisholm, Virginia, Grand Rapids, and the little mining location towns. And they were all our kind of competing schools. And in our conference, we traveled, played all those teams, at least home and home for 90% of them. So we played Chisholm twice a year, Grand Rapids twice a year, Virginia, Ely, all those schools up there. So that was kind of we didn't venture too far out of that area.
So you had, how many kids graduate from your class?
Like 600 in our graduating class.
See, I would have guessed you guys maybe had again, this is not knowing.
Right.
You guys would have had 100 kids in your class or something.
No, I mean, I distinctly remember going back to my 10-year reunion and talking to some people that I knew, and somebody introduced me to somebody and said, "Hey, do you remember Bill Smith?" And I said, "I don't know him. Where's he from?" "Well, he's from here. He went to school with you." I said, "No, he didn't." "Yes, he did. He lived over on 7th Avenue." So yeah, it was a big school, and bigger than a lot of people think. And like I said, now it's really small.
What is it now?
I think that they kind of annexed a bunch of area around the town to get it close to, probably it's half. It's probably close to 10, maybe under 10,000 now, 8, something like that, of actual people. I mean, they've dropped down a couple classes in sports and stuff. So the mining industry is a shell of itself, kind of, and there's not much else up there. So there's tourism, but it's not a real touristy place. Some of the other towns, Grand Rapids is a very touristy town. Hibbing's, there's not much there except a big mine hole that people go look at, or Greyhound bus started there. And but other than that, it's lost a lot of its effect because of the slowdown in the mining industry up there.
My parents grew up in the St. Cloud area, and all the granite up there, there's a lot of quarries up there that my dad especially used to go swimming in, like in summer, same type of thing.
We had some, not a lot. You couldn't go in there. I mean, the big mine up there was at one time the largest open pit mine in the world and stuff. There was some smaller spots that we found as kids when you're when you had a car, or somebody had a car or a truck, then you'd go around and you could go swimming in some of the mine pits. They're bigger than generally like the granite quarries that you're speaking of in St. Cloud are probably a little smaller.
Right.
But yeah, we had a swimming hole that we could that you'd go to. Sure. And that we had lakes just north of town. Some of the lakes where people would have cabins in the summertime. So there was a state park up there you'd go to and swim in the lakes up there. Yeah.
I was just listening to something on the radio recently talking about all the famous people that have come out of Hibbing.
There's a few.
I mean, obviously Bob Dylan, and Kevin McHale was one of them, your teammate and your friend, and who else? I mean, there's a number of different people that are from that area.
So Rudy Perpich, the governor, was from Hibbing. My dad coached Rudy Perpich. Gino Palucci, Gino's Pizza Rolls, or Gino started a bunch of fast food or frozen food stuff, is from Hibbing. Chisholm guy was the Rick Enrico, that was the president of PepsiCo, was from Chisholm, and like I said, Greyhound bus started in Hibbing. It was a bus that took people from Hibbing proper out to the mine, and it got dirty, and they called it a gray bus, and it turned into a Greyhound bus. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of famous people that.
How about Dave Galovich?
Who?
Dave Galovich?
Yeah. He might be Jim Molosky was a Crosby, and Kenny Novak Jr., little Kenny, or senior, older Kenny was a Crosby guy. And they can't confuse Crosby with Hibbing. That's not the Iron Range. It's a different,
right.
We're very provincial, and Cloquet is not on the Iron Range, Duluth or Grand Rapids not on the Iron Range. They might be close, but yeah, they were very, very provincial, that you don't confuse those other cities, that they weren't part of the range. So at least that was what you were kind of led to when you were growing up. No, they're not. Don't be telling people that Cloquet or Grand Rapids.
Be very clear on this.
Yeah, be very clear. Hibbing is on the range. Chisholm is on the range.
Iron Mountain.
Mountain Iron, Virginia.
Right.
They're on the range. But once you got past Virginia on the eastern side, and once you got past Coleraine or Greenway on the western side, that was it. That ended. So you went past there. That was, and then south, if you got to Crosby, that was the Cuyuna Range. That was a different, wasn't the Iron Range, the Wasabi Range or whatever. So
aren't there some actresses? Is it Judy Garland is from
Grand Rapids?
She's from Grand Rapids.
Yeah. No. I don't think there's any actors. Or Vic Powers, I think, wasn't he? Coach Evans, Vic Powers, Army movie guy. He was, I think, from Hibbing. They actually named the football field after him, Vic Powers Field. But I don't think there's many Hollywood people that have come out of Hibbing.
My brother wanted me to ask you about Bob Dylan. Is there any connection to did you know any part of his family?
Sure, you want to hear the connection.
Let's go.
So my sister, who last time we were trying to have this interview got sick, is exactly his age. And she was going to the U of M, to the U at the same time. And so back then, people didn't own a car and didn't have ways to get around, so you shared rides, or you basically figured out, okay, somebody's got a car and we're gonna get in with 4 people and get a carpool ride back home for nobody went home during regular week stuff, but on Christmas breaks or breaks. So she was riding in a car, or going to be riding in the car with Bob Dylan on his way home from Christmas break at the U. And so they rolled up to where the dorm he was at, and he came out and he had all his stuff. He had his guitar, he had bags, he had all kinds of stuff, and he was throwing it in the trunk, and he sat in the car, and my sister and her 2 friends, 2 other girls, said, Bob, what's going on? He says, well, I'm quitting school. And they said, what do you mean you're quitting school? He says, yeah, I'm done. I'm quitting school. Well, what are you going to do? He says, I'm moving to New York, and I'm going to be a star. And they laughed at him. They literally thought that was, really, what are your parents going to say? He says, I don't care. That's what I'm going to do. So that's her connection to, like I said, Bob Dylan leaving the U to go find his way. And
that was the beginning of it.
To move to New York City, yeah. And when we talk about the infamous, so he was in a talent show at the high school, and they had during kind of homecoming week, they had a talent show, and he got up and started playing his guitar, and back then, nobody really had an electric guitar. This was, 1959, 60. He pulled out an electric guitar and started strumming and singing, and it wasn't very normal, according to the principal, so they unplugged him and made him they didn't get the big hook out, but they made him get off the stage. And
They were throwing tomatoes at him, right?
well, they would have, yeah, but they booed him off the stage at the open mic or the thing during homecoming. And she says, yeah, we thought no way was he ever going to amount to anything, and so he certainly proved them all wrong, proved everybody wrong.
Exactly.
So,
That's a great story.
yeah.